If you're looking at getting licensed as a real estate agent, or you already just got licensed, you want to know what are the next steps I should take, I'm going to give you my top tips mistakes that I made when I got licensed 2 years ago, and what I wish I learned then that I know now. Let's go. What's up, everyone? My name is Cameron Hodge, a realtor with eXp Realty. And on this channel, I talk about my experiences as being a new agent as I progress on my journey of being a realtor, and also my experience with being with eXp Realty. And every day, I always have people reaching out just like me who are on the fence of joining eXp and whether it's the right fit for them. And I absolutely love it. So if that's you, reach out by call, text, email, or schedule a Zoom call below, and I'm here to help you when moving to eXp Realty. So in this video, I want to talk about some of the top steps I think you should take first. And this isn't coming from someone who's doing like tons of volume or all this stuff. Like, this is just literally in the 2 years of being an agent, like my experiences and what I wish I did just in the short time frame then that I do now, and the money that I wasted. So one of the first steps, obviously, get licensed. If you're watching this and you're not licensed, just look up how to get a real estate license in my state, whatever that's going to be. And you're going to probably have to take a class, and then you're going to have to pass a test, and it's pretty simple. And obviously, once you pass your test, the next step is finding a broker to hang your license with. And there are so many options out there. When I first got convinced to join the industry, I actually had gone to a networking event, met an individual who was awesome. And then initially I had my own mobile notary business at the time. He had talked to me, he's like, you're really good with follow-up, because he just goes to me forever. And he's like, you ever thought about getting your real estate license? And I'm like, no. I'm like, I've invested, and I had a rental property at the time, and I'm like, well, obviously I'm doing that. I'm like, but I've never thought about actually getting my license. He's like, well, let's try it out. So I decided, I took a job working as an ISA, taking inbound internet leads and doing a little bit of outbound work. And that transitioned to being his broker's assistant, pretty much doing everything an agent would do, except for the legal parts that they have to do, of course. But I did everything else for him as his assistant when it came to like opening doors for showings and doing, help working with him while he wrote up offers and doing all that kind of things, or bringing listings live a little bit in the beginning and just solving all the random things that go along with that as issues. And then obviously I got licensed in fall of 2020 and started working with it. Turns out that ended up not being a good fit for me. What I learned now that I wish I knew then was it wasn't so much him or even Real Broker afterwards when I joined them. Like, I don't really blame them, because it all comes back to me. But when I looked at it, I realized like I just wasn't choosing what do I want, like where do I want my career to go, what am I looking to do? Because there are agents who, they'll work at Redfin and get a salary, a set salary, and they're like, I'm good with this is comfortable. But for me, I'm like, okay, I know I want to make, how much money do I want to make? Am I looking to be like a luxury agent like Ryan Serdan or all this stuff, or like what am I trying to accomplish? And I realized that I'm like, I wanted to make a good income, but I didn't always want to be in production. And that's coming from a new agent. Like, trust me, like, I know that I'm putting in the work, and I do every single day to grow that and be better, because like you have to start somewhere. You don't just walk in and start making all this money and all these clients. Like I started from zero sphere and just had to work my way up. Family was an option. I wasn't originally from California when I got licensed. So like it was all just actively building and just reaching out to people that I had let fall off and letting them know that I was in real estate. What I realized is that training was a big thing, and I dropped thousands of dollars on training in the beginning, which if I had made the move to eXp sooner with the group that I was a part of, one, I would have gotten their course for free, which at the time I had paid about $500. Now it's like that couple $1,000 course, but they give it to free if you join them, which I'll explain here in a little bit. With Real Broker, it was a new company. My first broker didn't really have much training. I mean, we would have a weekly meeting and kind of go over some things, but overall it was just like, hey, you have to go out there and just meet people, which is true. You do. It's a numbers game. But I didn't fully get one-on-one training when I did it. So choose the right brokerage for you. Like, first decide, am I trying to go independent, or am I going on a team? The benefit of a team is you're probably gonna get leads handed to you. Also, if you join a team like I did in the beginning and you're really not getting any solid leads given to you, even as a new agent, like you probably should go somewhere else. Like I wasn't even opening doors and getting paid for that. It was just opening doors with nothing to show for. So I was spending all this time away from my wife and kids, and like I really wasn't having much to show for it. But I did get experience. So I'm super grateful that I went through that, because everything that I'm doing now, like that built the foundation and put me light years ahead where I could have been if I just joined and just got thrown in the fire entirely. But yeah, you got to choose. Yes, I go independent and a team. I started on a team. It was a great experience. But then I decided it was my time to go separate because I had a different vision than really what that team had. And I realized that like the value just wasn't there for me. Joining Real Broker, like their training was newer, but it still didn't quite fit what I wanted. And then now I ended up where I am with EXP. I got all these courses for free. I get to the people I've gotten to meet that are just on a whole another level and be able to get their insights. Like, what step are you on? I'm on this step. Oh, cool. This is what you should be doing. And be able to get that insight. So if that's you and you're like, I don't know where to go, or you're at somewhere and you're like, this is not what I want. I understand. I went through it. Reach out to me day, nights, weekends, call, text, email, schedule a Zoom call, whatever you have to do. And I'll happy to walk you through that and maybe even answer your questions, and we can kind of work out a plan from there. After choosing and you're like, all right, whether independent or team, the next step is obviously like, planning and realizing that you have to do the work. I mean, I avoided cold calling and like I looked at all these things, and like a lot of it comes down to what's short term and what's long term. Like obviously real estate is gonna be a long term for getting paid. And I realized I'm like, okay, I'm going to set aside time for doing long activities that's going to pay off over time. I had a system in place, and this is all after EXP. Like I really was just kind of all over the place until 2021 when I joined. And then I kind of got some help. I got some insight, and now I have a system for my sphere. I have 3 areas of focus for lead gen, one of them being sphere. So 2 other focuses. I have a YouTube channel that I'm currently growing. So I will also kind of share my experience along that, because that's only about a month into it. And I hope to share kind of how that goes and kind of prove if my upline and what they're doing works. I mean, it's still, even though you can get leads, you still got to close them. That's really what it comes down to. So if you can choose a line that kind of shaves off having to pay for anything, that's great. I mean, joining a team or even any brokerage, like make sure they have like solid training that fits what you want. And make sure it aligns with what you're trying to do, so that way you can get great insight to be able to get yourself off the ground. I mean, you're always going to have a broker that kind of handles like contract issues and questions. Like there's always someone for that. And obviously if you're brand new with EXP, you also get what's called a mentorship program. So with the first several deals, your broker is going to get like half of that. When I joined EXP, I'd already had enough deals to where I didn't have to do that. But thankfully I still reached out, and I always ask questions. So, but yeah, you'll have a mentorship program. You'll have an icon agent that means that they're a top agent they've capped, and they are a top successful agent. So you're getting a mentor tied to you who knows what they're doing. But obviously they can't make you do the work. So but once you choose your brokerage, you get involved, like you have mentoring and training, and you know what to go. It's just every day consistent. One thing I've learned now is that everything works. You just have to consistently do it day in and day out. Cold calling, like the organic YouTube channel, like staying in touch with your sphere, everything works, but it takes time. So that's why, like in the beginning, I did go independent probably sooner than I should have. And it caused a lot of pain financially, a lot of stress in my family. Did I learn a lot? Yes, I did. But it definitely made a tough transition, having to generate everything myself. Thankfully, I had a lot of things, had some listings that were able to generate deals, especially in this market, and kind of worked into it. But it takes time. And honestly, it took about 2 years for staying in touch with my sphere for them to actually start even referring me people or staying in touch with me. Because in the beginning, everyone's like, yeah. Like you've done all this other stuff. Now you're an agent. I know 1,000 agents. Well, I realized, and now I'm at the two-year mark of consistently staying in touch with them. I now started a weekly email. They get a newsletter every month in the mail, including like one thrown into that weekly email, and then occasional phone calls, personal notes, and doing all that stuff. They've started to realize like now I'm starting to get the real estate conversations, calling for advice and questions, and all of it ends up working out, but it took time to get there. And while I had a couple low-hanging fruit deals that kind of funded me last year, when you have nothing, like it's hard. You know, it's 87% of agents fail in the first couple of years, and that's a true statistic. I mean, I almost left the industry last year. Thankfully, I came into where I am at with EXP, and I got some insights like, hey, like, you know, the pain you're feeling, yeah, that's okay, that's expected. So if it's going hard for you, I completely understand. Just realize that it's a process. You have to work your way through. And even right now, like I'm not some big agent. Like I'm out there, I'm working, I'm trying to make it work. And this is just kind of me sharing my experience. So if you're new and you don't know what to do, or you just kind of want someone to talk to who kind of knows what they're going through, or you're like, hey, I might want to move to EXP, or I'm getting licensed. Should I join EXP? I can help connect you with someone in your area, or just honestly just be there along the way, because I fully get it. I understand. And I went through that pain. So call, text, email, schedule a Zoom call below. I have your back. We're making the move to EXP Realty. And without that, I will see you in the next video.